Welcome to Crafty Chemist Designs. Today I have a great project for you. But first, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel so that you are alerted every time I drop a new video. On to the project. This video is part of a monthly card making hop hosted by Valley Oak Paper. Everything Old is New Again is the card making theme for the April hop. When I heard of this month's theme, Everything Old is New Again, and we were going for somewhat of a retro feel, the first thing I thought of was this tune-in set by Stampin' Up. It's an old TV set with the antennas and your classic. So I thought this would be a perfect stamp set to use for the card. But I thought it would be kind of boring if I just made a card with this. And so then I got to thinking, what could I do to make it special? And the theme was Everything Old is New Again. And it reminded me of when on television we went from black and white to color. And so then I started to think about these magic slider cards. And so that's what I created. This is what a magic slider card looks like. It's nice black and white image here. And then when you pull up, it reveals the special colored balloons there. So it's like the moment in time when we went from black and white TV to color TV. Isn't that fun? So let me show you how I made this. So we're going to cut this piece 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then 5 1/4. Just think before you cut which direction you want your paper to go, if it has a direction. If it's non-directional, then it doesn't really matter. Okay, now let's put this on here. Next, we're going to do the TV set. So here's the TV. So let's put that aside. If this is the first card that you made with the TV set, you might want to save the cutout to use as a positioner. And you'll see why that's important later, because when we stamp our images, we need to use a MISTI and we need to stamp in the exact same spot. And with something that's odd shaped like this, it's hard to put 2 different pieces of paper in the exact same spot without some kind of guide. If you're just using like a rectangle or a square piece of paper, you can butt it up against the corner of your MISTI. But if you're doing something odd shaped like this, you want to have some kind of template like this. Now we need to cut out another TV, just the base, in white. And now here is where the magic part sort of comes in. You're going to need some kind of transparency film or acetate, something. I'm using these transparency films, which is fine. You could use acetate. And then we're going to need to cut out another TV on the acetate and just the backing. Okay, now let me cut out these decorations. And like I said, I'm going to use black for this one. I've got a scrap piece of black here. And that's just because, again, I think the pink and the black remind me of poodle skirts and that. Okay. Okay, and on this card, I have this little circle. It's a 2-inch circle where I typed Your Classic. I'm going to cut it out of white for the card I'm making right now. Okay, first let's put together the items that we're going to put right on the card base. So the white circle and then our decorations. Let's stamp on our white circle first. I'm going to use Memento Tuxedo Black and the sentiment Your Classic. Or you could put Happy Birthday. Why don't we do this one, Happy Birthday? Just to be different. Okay, let's attach these. First, let's attach the circle, and I'm going to put it down, but then use my TV to kind of place it, because I want to make sure I leave room for my TV. How about something like that? At this point, I really had to think about what I was going to put inside my TV. And there really isn't any, there aren't any shapes or anything in here that you can put inside the TV except for the sentiments. At first, I thought I could put Happy Birthday, stamp it in black, and then pull it, and then it would be Happy Birthday in color, but that didn't seem very exciting. So then I started to think, what else could I put into the TV? And really, the TV is not very big. The one thing that I think makes this look the best is if you're using a stamp that's just a line, an outline stamp that you color in. If it's a stamp that is a solid fill, then that's not going to work as great because you're going to stamp it in black and white, and the whole thing's going to be black, and then on the inside it's going to be colored. I really had to look for something that had an open line stamps, and I had to go back to some of my old Close to My Heart stamps. I found this one. It's probably one of the first stamp sets that I purchased from Close to My Heart when I joined, and I'm using these. You could use something like these flowers, you know, that's got the open flowers. That would also work. But since I'm doing a happy birthday, let's do the balloons. Okay, so let's get the stamp. And then this is where a stamp positioner really comes in handy. Okay, and again, I'm going to use my little template, the first thing I'm going to stamp is on the white. Okay, so on my white, this is on the base. Now with mine, I want to stamp to make sure that it's inside this central part. So I am going to kind of lay this on top to guide me. I'm going to take my stamp and sort of put it there so that it's exactly in the opening space. But then I'm going to remove this outside part, right? You don't want this. This was just to use as a guide. Don't stamp on it, because if anything hangs over, like the bottom of that, you're going to stamp on your TV here. So I'm going to put this there, make sure everything is straight, and then pick it up with the MISTI. Okay? So now it's in the perfect place. Put the white back in here. And on this white base, I'm going to stamp with the Memento black ink. Okay. Use it and then rub. Make sure you got a good print image. Okay, perfect. Don't move your stamp. We have a part 2. So I'm going to take this out. And then I'm going to put in my transparency. Now, to stamp on a transparency or acetate, you really are going to want to use Stays On, because you need this to stamp on something like the acetate or something slippery, right? You need the Stays On ink. Okay. And the transparency's in there, I know you can't really see it, but it is in the frame there. Did I get a good image? I did a pretty good image. Yeah, I would say I'm happy with that image. Now we want to do I stamped it twice. If you have another image, you can stamp it, but I stamped it twice. And so let's put this back in. Put my white piece back in. Put my frame on top so I get the positioning really good. To make sure you can see it. I'm going to position it how I like. I like it right there. And then I'm going to take off the gray. And pick it up with my MISTI. At this point, we're going to color your base piece on the white. And I just picked some colors that I thought would go with the pink, the pretty and pink here. Okay, we have everything colored. At this point, we are going to put our base down where we like it. Okay, we're not going to put the top on quite yet, but at this point, we are going to attach the acetate to our frame. we want this to be exactly on here. Okay, very nice. Now, what you should do before you really go very far is you want to make sure that these overlap exactly. Okay, are you going to be able to get a good overlap? I should have done that before I put the adhesive on, but yes, it's going to look okay. There we go. That's the important part. Okay, now we are ready for assembly. On this card, I popped it up with foam tape. I used this 1/4 inch foam tape. I only put foam tape around like this. But what I found is I feel like it kind of sticks a little bit on the sides, and I think that's because this white piece is sticking to the side of the foam tape that's around here. So this time what I thought I would do would be to make strips of cardstock in this smoky slate color and make, say, 2 layers of it and stack them up to give you the depth, because you need a little bit of depth, but you won't have the stickiness. So let's try that. I'm going to make these about a 1/4 inch wide. I'm only going to put these strips down here, around, and up. Okay. Now I cut this so that I left a little bit of space at the top because I'm going to put another little tab like this here. So I want it so that there's enough room for me to stick another, just a little piece like this to serve as sort of a backstop for it. Okay. Now, because my shape is different than just the typical rectangle, I did something a little bit different as I made these little, like I said, stoppers here. So let's see, I'm going to cut it right about here. Let's get 2 of these. And this is to stop this paper from coming out. So you need kind of something to stop it from coming out. Okay. So why do you not want it to be too much? Because you want the white piece to cover the whole opening. Okay, so you don't want this to go farther than that opening. Okay, so now what we need to do is get a piece of white paper. And we want to cut it so that it will fit between these 2 stoppers. this fits nicely. Okay, and then you're saying, well, what's going to stop it? How are those hooks going to stop it? Well, we're going to put a little piece of white across the bottom that's longer than that piece. And now what you want to do is measure it so that it's going to fit inside your television or whatever you're making inside of it. But it's not going to, it's going to be stopped by the these blocker pieces. Okay, let's see, is that good enough? I think so. Okay, not all the way along. Oops, it's stuck here. Okay, you want to put the adhesive on here and not on here, because this is going to stick out farther. So you don't want the adhesive on the ends, because that will definitely get stuck. You want it to be centered so that it gets stopped by the blockers. Okay, now if there's any adhesive here, which it doesn't feel like there is, you would want to erase that. Okay, so let's see how this is doing. Now before we adhere this, I'm going to cut the top. See how I have the little pull tab here at the top? I used these. This was called border tabs from Close to My Heart. So what I want is, I want this to be centered kind of like this. I want the little tab, and this time I'm using the rounded tab, but I want it to stick up over the TV so that I can pull, and people will know to pull it. Okay, let's stamp on this. I do have these stamps that go with that border tab that says pull. So I'm going to use that. Okay, so we're going to put this in here. Make sure that it looks good. Yeah, it looks great. Okay. Now, if it's foam tape, if you use foam tape here, you're just going to remove the backing and then stick it down. Since it's not foam tape, I'm going to have to put some adhesive here, just along these gray strips. You could use tear and tape. You can use any kind of adhesive that you want, and then stick it down. But when you do that, I would have this pulled up as high as you can, so that when you put this down, you really want to line up the two stamped images. Okay, so it looks like it's one image. See how it looks like it's one image there? So that when you pull it down like that, looks like it's one image. So there you have it, the magic color slide card. Thank you for watching this video. I have a Facebook business page, Crafty Chemist Designs, where I go live every Sunday to do demos. I have a Facebook VIP group, The Crafty Chemist Presents. You can share your artwork, ask questions. And I have an Instagram and TikTok, Crafty Chemist Designs, where I post artwork every day. And I have a blog, periodicallycrafty.blogspot.com.